Have you ever wondered, when your hair turns gray, when your hands are no longer as steady as they once were, who will truly stay by your side until the very end? Most people believe the answer lies in family, in their children, or in the life partner who has walked with them through half of life's journey. But one day, when you turn 60, you suddenly realize that things are not as simple as they used to be. Your children are busy with their jobs, your friends slowly drift away, and the phone calls, the visits, become fewer and farther between. You start to feel something you may have never thought about before: the loneliness that comes even when you are still surrounded by the people you love. It is not because they do not love you. It is because everyone is caught up in the rhythm of their own lives. And then, when illness strikes or when you simply need someone by your side, you realize there are things in life that, if you do not prepare for yourself, no one else can do for you. That is why today we are going to talk about 6 pillars that are even more important than family, the things that can become your strongest foundation as you grow older. These 6 foundations will not only help you live longer, but also help you live freely, peacefully, and with dignity. Stay until the end, because once you understand and build these 6 pillars, you will never again feel lonely, dependent, or afraid of getting old. Because when you have them, you will not need anyone to hold you up. You will have already built the strongest foundation of your own life. The first pillar: financial stability, the most loyal friend of old age. There is one truth that most of us only realize after half of life has passed. Money cannot buy happiness, but without it, peace becomes a luxury. When you are young, you might think, my children will always be there. If things get tough, they will help. But as time goes on, your children have their own families, their own homes, their own debts and responsibilities. It is not that they do not love you. They are simply struggling with their own lives, just as you once did. And then you begin to understand. There is no savings more secure than the one you prepare for yourself. Imagine this. You are 72 years old, once a parent who always helped your children whenever they needed it. You lent them money, supported them through hard times. But one day, an unexpected illness wipes out your savings. When you need their help, suddenly, they cannot. Not because they are ungrateful, but because they are already overwhelmed with bills, young children, and their own silent worries. In that moment, you realize that financial dependence is the most fragile thread in any relationship. And the only way to live peacefully is to hold that thread in your own hands. Financial stability does not mean being rich. It means being prepared, having an emergency fund, a steady source of income, knowing how to spend wisely, and never putting yourself in a position where you must ask for help. It is the freedom to lift your head high, to live your life the way you want without needing anyone's permission. If you are 60 or older, ask yourself, if I fall sick tomorrow, do I have enough to take care of myself? If my children face financial trouble, can I still live comfortably without depending on them? If your answer makes you hesitate, then now is the perfect time to start again. Learn to manage your expenses, cut out what is unnecessary, and let your money work for your own safety, not become someone else's burden. Because in the end, the one who will stay with you until your very last day is not your children, not your friends, not anyone else. It is the strength and stability you have built for yourself. The second pillar: physical health, the foundation of freedom and longevity. In your 20s, you often take your health for granted. In your 30s, you believe it is something you can always recover. But once you cross 60, you realize health is no longer something to overlook. It is the most precious asset that allows you to keep your freedom. You might have money, a home, and successful children and grandchildren. But if your body starts to weaken, all of those things suddenly feel distant. Even a short trip becomes exhausting. A night's sleep turns restless, and sometimes just climbing a few steps leaves you breathless. The sad truth is that many people only start to care about their health when it has already begun to leave them. They think, my children will take care of me. But in reality, love from your children does not mean they can exercise for you, eat healthy for you, or fight against aging on your behalf. Health is a personal responsibility. No one can do it for you. Think of Carl, a man who was once very active. When he retired, he believed he deserved to take it easy. He moved less, ate whatever he wanted, and told himself, I'll start exercising tomorrow. But that tomorrow kept slipping away. Just a few years later, he realized his legs were no longer flexible, his energy had disappeared, and even simple things now required someone else's help. He began to fear the very thing that everyone dreads, losing independence. One day, he decided to change, not to live longer, but to live better. He began walking every morning, eating smaller but healthier meals, and going for regular checkups instead of ignoring those minor pains. After just a few months, he felt his body coming back to life, not because of a miracle, but because he finally started taking care of himself again. You do not need to train like an athlete or follow extreme diets or trendy routines. Just stay consistent with small habits. Walk every day, get enough sleep, drink enough water, eat plenty of vegetables, and do not let stress pile up. These simple habits are your most valuable life insurance. Because at this age, health means freedom. When you are healthy, you can decide where to go, what to do, and whom to meet. When you are weak, everything depends on others. And that is more painful than any illness. So do not wait until your body starts complaining before you act. Love it today. Because if you treat your body well, it will become your most loyal companion, the one who walks with you until the very end of your journey. The third pillar, social connections, the cure for loneliness in old age. The older we get, the less we talk. Yet deep down, the more we crave to be heard. After the age of 60, loneliness does not come from being alone, but from the feeling that no one truly understands you anymore. There are quiet afternoons when you sit by the window, listening to birds sing and watching sunlight stretch across the floor. Everything looks peaceful, yet inside, you feel empty. Old friends have moved away or passed on, and the few who remain rarely keep in touch. Your children and grandchildren still call, but only for a few hurried minutes. And you realize your circle has grown smaller than ever. Isolation is the silent enemy of old age. It not only drains your spirit, but also slows your mind, weakens your heart, and shortens your life. But the scariest thing is, it makes you forget what it feels like to be part of the world. Margaret, 73 years old, once fell into that state. Her entire life had revolved around her son and his family. But as they became busier with their own lives, their visits grew rare. She started counting phone calls, waiting for knocks on the door that never came. One day, she looked in the mirror and thought, if I keep waiting like this, I'll slowly fade away. So she decided to change. She joined a book club, took morning walks with a local group, and signed up for an art class. Just a few months later, her calendar was full again, not because someone suddenly cared more, but because she chose to step out of her loneliness. She not only made new friends, but also rediscovered something that many older people lose, a sense of purpose in each day. Because you see, happiness does not require many people, just a few. People you can laugh with, talk honestly to, and share a few moments of your day with. That is enough to keep your heart young. Open up. Talk to your neighbors, chat with the person you meet at the park, join a volunteer group or a class you enjoy. Relationships are not a luxury. They are the medicine that keeps your heart warm. As you grow older, you need people who make you feel alive, not just existing. And the beautiful thing is, when you give care and kindness, you will receive far more in return than you ever expected. The fourth pillar, purpose, the flame that keeps your soul young. There is something strange about growing old. It is not the body growing weaker that makes you feel old, but the moment you no longer feel useful. When your children have grown, when your career has ended, and when life begins to slow down, many people suddenly fall into an invisible emptiness, where each day passes without knowing why they are still here. When you were young, you lived for responsibility, for your family, for your career, for others. But when those roles begin to fade, the biggest question appears: what is left for me? In truth, turning 60 is not the end. It is the beginning of a new chapter, one where you can finally live for yourself more than ever before. But to do that, you need a sense of purpose, something that makes you want to wake up every morning, something that gives you a reason to look forward to the day. Think of George, a 70-year-old man who had been an engineer for nearly 40 years. When he retired, he was excited to finally relax for real. But just a few months later, that excitement faded. His days all looked the same: waking up late, eating lunch alone, and ending the day rewatching old shows. He was not sad, but he felt himself slowly becoming invisible. One afternoon, he came across a notice looking for volunteers to teach kids how to build model airplanes. He signed up just to try, and everything changed. Those simple teaching sessions brought back something he had lost: the feeling of being needed, being heard, and sharing a lifetime of experience. From then on, every morning he woke up with energy again, not because someone told him to, but because he had a reason to live. A sense of purpose does not need to be grand. It could be tending to a small garden, writing down your life stories, learning to paint or play an instrument, or simply making someone smile. What matters is that you do something that makes you feel like you are still contributing, still growing, still alive. Because when people lose their purpose, they are not truly living. They are merely counting the days. But when you have even the smallest reason to get up in the morning, your heart stays young, your spirit stays alive, and life regains the colors of your youth. Do not let age make you forget that you can still create value. Sometimes, all it takes is finding that small flame inside you, and it can light up the rest of your life. The fifth pillar: emotional strength. How to stay grounded when life changes. There are losses no one else can fully share with you. There are moments of loneliness that you feel even while sitting among family. After 60, life begins to test you in quiet but profound ways. A spouse passes away, a close friend is gone, your children get busy, and your health shifts. Suddenly, the silent hours of the day grow longer, heavier, and strangely empty. Many people believe that their children or loved ones will always be their emotional anchors. But in time, you realize that everyone has their own battles, and no one can forever be the shoulder for someone else. So if you do not learn to stand strong within your own emotions, it becomes too easy to fall when life changes. Emotional strength does not mean suppressing pain or pretending to be tough. It is the ability to understand, accept, and heal yourself. It is being able to cry when you need to, yet still smile and move forward afterward. It is feeling sadness, but not letting that sadness drag you down. Remember Helen, a 75-year-old woman who lost her husband of 40 years. In the first few months, she felt adrift, as if the world had lost its anchor. She clung to her children, hoping to feel safe again. But they had their own lives. Visits became rare. Calls grew shorter. One evening, as she reread her old journals, she realized, I cannot keep living in the past. From that day on, she began to write again, not to remember, but to heal. She joined a support group for widows, learned meditation, and wrote down things she was grateful for each day. Time passed. The pain was still there, but she had learned how to walk through it without letting it pull her back. That is emotional strength, the power that keeps you from being swept away, no matter how big the waves are. It is not about appearing brave, but about knowing how to comfort yourself and find peace within. It could be a few minutes of deep breathing in the morning, a quiet evening walk, or keeping a small journal of things that make you smile. Those little acts are, in truth, the medicine for the soul that helps you stay steady in a changing world. Because in the end, the one who will be with you through everything, through pain, through joy, through every storm, is not anyone else but you. And when you learn how to be your own companion, you will never truly be lonely, no matter how much the world around you changes. The sixth pillar: adaptability, the art of living peacefully amid change. After 60, life begins to slow down, but the world around you does not. Everything keeps moving, evolving, and sometimes that very pace makes you feel as if you are being left behind. People you once knew are gone. Your children and grandchildren grow up and live life their own way, and technology advances so quickly it feels impossible to keep up. Then one day you realize, the only thing that never changes is that everything keeps changing. Many people enter old age resisting change. They cling to old habits, avoid learning new things, and refuse to step outside their comfort zone. But that resistance often leads to isolation, loneliness, and the feeling of being out of sync with the world. Because in a world that never stops moving, if you do not move with it, you slowly fade from its rhythm. Change is not the enemy. It is a test to see if you are flexible enough to keep enjoying life. Think of Frank, a 78-year-old man who had spent decades meeting the same group of close friends. But as the years went by one they were gone. Some passed away, some moved, others no longer had the energy to go out. Those regular meetups disappeared, and Frank felt like he was the only one left in that chapter of his life. He thought, maybe this is just what aging is. But instead of giving up, he chose to adapt. He learned to use a smartphone to video call his grandchildren, joined an online history discussion group, a topic he had always loved, and made new friends who shared his interests. Before long, he realized that life was still full of new things, as long as he was open to them. Adaptability does not mean changing who you are. It means bending with life's flow instead of being swept away by it. It is when you dare to try something new, to learn, to make mistakes, and still smile, simply because you are still living, still experiencing. Because truly, the happiest people after 60 are not the ones with the most money or the largest families. They are the ones who are not afraid of change. They do not cling to the past or sigh, things used to be better. They smile and say, today is still a good day. When you learn to adapt, you do not just survive old age. You live fully in it. You find joy in small things. You fear the future less, and you feel lighter, calmer, more at peace. So do not worry when life changes. Because if you can be flexible and gentle like water, then no matter how many times life changes its course, you will always find your own way forward. Conclusion. The 6 pillars of peaceful aging, the journey back to yourself. Turning 60 is not an ending. It is a doorway, the start of a new chapter where you no longer chase the rush of life, but begin to live slowly, deeply, and truly as yourself. To enjoy those years fully, you need a solid foundation. The 6 pillars we have talked about: financial stability, physical health, social connection, purpose, emotional strength, and adaptability, are not just ideas. They are the 6 beams that hold up the peaceful home of your later years. When you have financial stability, you no longer fear tomorrow. When you have health, you have the freedom to walk, laugh, and explore the world. When you have a social network, you have joy, connection, and a warm heart. When you have purpose, you wake up each morning with a smile and a reason to begin the day. When you have emotional strength, you are no longer swept away by loss or loneliness. And when you are adaptable, you no longer fear time, because you know that every day can be a new beginning. Old age is not the final chapter. It is another kind of freedom. The time when you no longer need to prove anything to anyone, no longer have to chase after society's expectations. It is the time to come home to yourself, to love yourself more, and to live calmly amid all that changes. Because in the end, true peace does not come from having someone always by your side. It comes from being strong enough, independent enough, and loving yourself enough to stand tall no matter what life brings. If you have watched or listened this far, remember, you are never too old to start again, to live differently, or to rediscover your own joy. These 6 pillars are not meant for someone else. They are for you, for the most precious years still waiting ahead. Old age is not something to fear. Loneliness is not something to fear. What is truly frightening is forgetting that you still have the power to create your own happiness. Start today. Rebuild your foundation, one brick at a time. Because once these 6 pillars stand firm, you will see that nothing can bring you down again, not even time itself.